So here's one of those situations where it was under a high pressure nitrogen K test at 226 PSI. And if you look right here, it's a good thing I had, now we're talking, it's about 40 minutes later. No, actually I did the whole back end. It's over an hour later. I sprayed this stuff on an hour ago when I did the nitrogen decay test. It's still wet. And you can see a little bit of bubble forming right there. See those bubbles? Those were not there before. That's forming right now. So they could not get an OEM dryer aftermarket from Ranchu. So if you would not have caught that little tiny leak, this would come back to a comeback to your shop. And so I'm going all over this thing. It's starting to get a little warm, but it's so cold outside, I can't get the high side pressure up at, and it's going into, we're actually going into a vacuum. They didn't want to do the expansion valve. Nobody ever wants to do the expansion valve on it, but they're going to have to, because this is happening now. So we're doing the expansion valve on this one. I'm going to tell them to do that. And, but there's also no load over the evaporator. So what's happening is there's hot air coming, they have the new, this is one of those new replacement modules that control the heat. So there's no cooling coming out of the center, there's heat coming out of the sides, but I have it in cooling mode. And you cannot properly test the system if there's no airflow going over the evaporator. It actually can turn into a brick of ice, have no airflow, and you can go into a negative because your evaporator gets so cold. If it was good, there's nothing coming out here. I have it set high, nothing. A little, let's say 80 degree here, 115 degree air here, and compressor is on. So it's just one of those things. Oh well. Okay. So, as much as they did not want to go under the dash, nobody, I don't blame you, nobody likes to go under the dash. This is going to be one of those things. And as you can see, this keeps going down, but I put my fingers on the metal line right here. It's cold, but it's not, and I can't get my clamps. The way they have this aftermarket pipe down here, I can't physically get my clamps there, but it's starving for refrigerant so much. It's not a frozen evaporator, and there'd be like zero superheat, and this would be all frozen and stuff like that. This is actually warm, so it's starving for refrigerant from an expansion valve, and it's not feeding. It's not from lack of flow and lack of load over the evaporator. That's actually starving for refrigerant. So I'll pull the refrigerant out. And this little leak has to be taken care of, so I'm going to have to pull this off and actually see if it just needs to be tightened. And the pressure is much lower now. Now we're down to 69 and it's not leaking right now. When it got warmer and higher pressure, bubbles were coming out.